Hey there, Cheesemeisters. That would have been Radio Song by R.E.M. It's the song that Christine plays on the jukebox at the Peach Pit when she first meets Steve. Or that would have been Shiny Happy People by R.E.M., which Christine and Steve listen to in the limo right before they raise the divider and have a cinematic old time. Or that would have been Losing My Religion, which Steve and Andrea play at the jukebox at the end of the episode in this very REM-centric episode. I am Jeff, and you think you're the only one who can be tight with the illustrious Andrea Zuckerman? And joining me on the other end of the internet, my co-host.
I'm Leslie, and I'm addicted to reruns of Hartley House.
So am I. Never miss an episode.
Oh, wow. Nope.
Yeah, there's a lot to love about the Hartley House.
Yes, my favorite is at the very end when they say, "Good night, John Boy." Oh, is that not the same show?
It's a different show. Yeah, that's a different show. That's the Waltons. Got it. But John Boy is iconic because you've never seen the Waltons, but you still know that.
Because my parents would do it. When they would yell goodnight to my sister and I, they would add on goodnight, Marianne, goodnight, John Boy.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way the show ended frequently. But yeah, no, it's iconic. John Boy and the Waltons. It's all anybody knows about the Waltons.
And is it all we need to know? Isn't that enough?
It's in some cases I might say it's more than enough.
Wow.
We might not need to even know that much, but we do, and we're going to just keep on knowing it because you can't forget that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the Peach Pod. Today we are doing Season 2, Episode 12, Down and Out, open paren, of District, close paren, in Beverly Hills. This originally aired on October 17th, 1991. What do you think?
It's not one to write home about.
No,
it's not that it's bad. It's just kind of, it doesn't go anywhere, really. You know, for something that they've been amping up, you know?
Yeah.
Which, that being Andrea possibly getting found out and expelled. It was pretty anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And then made even worse by the fact that they inject this piece about her grandmother having lied, changed, survived the Holocaust, basically. And it's like, wait, what? That's all we're getting?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you think you can stand living with me for real, Grandma? Well, I've lived through worse. Like the Holocaust!
I know!
I mean, there were some weird things happening in this episode. So, what happens in this episode is Andrea, Brandon oversteps his bounds and submits Andrea's article, her expose on the cafeteria food, to a journalism contest, which she wins. And of course, the district then has to come to her house to interview her, but it's not her house, it's her grandma's house, and Gramma Rose doesn't want to get involved and also doesn't want to lie. And so it's possible that Andrea is going to get found out and kicked out of school and have to go live in the valley and go to school in the valley and die sad and broke in the valley, where only terrible things happen in the valley.
Apparently.
It's a rough place, the valley. I mean, Ralph Macchio, that's where Daniel LaRusso was. And, you can't even go to a Halloween party there without getting your ass kicked. So you don't want any part of the valley, is what I'm saying. And what this episode is clearly saying, too, because, dear God, don't live in the valley.
Jeez.
And in the end, Andrea doesn't get kicked out. She moves in with her grandma officially. And then there's this whole B storyline where Steve dates the chick from the beginning of Ghostbusters.
That's why I didn't remember her.
Oh, yeah. Have you not seen Ghostbusters?
No, I've seen it. I just did not remember her at all.
I've seen it a lot. She's at the beginning scene where he's testing ESP, and everything he says is right, and everything the other guy says, he says is wrong, and gives him electric shocks because he's trying to, get with her.
Yeah,
it's a very good scene. Right in the middle of something, Ray. And nobody trusts her, especially Kelly.
For good reason.
For good reason, because she's clearly just in it for the cash, for the cachet of dating Samantha Sanders' son. And Steve is in it because she's hot and has sex with him.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's again, there are a lot of pictures in this picture book. You don't need many words to give you more context.
I mean, so I think it's interesting. Story. Yeah, but I think that it's interesting that the A and B story were both tertiary characters. Like, there wasn't a Brandon or Brenda story involved in this episode. There's not a Kelly. There's not a Donna. David's in it a little bit. But it's a Steve story and an Andrea story, which I don't know that we've had that yet. So it's interesting. They're kind of branching out, They're trying to give us... Yeah, they're giving us more to these characters, and we're paying off something that they've been teasing with Andrea forever.
Yeah. And again, I really feel like they, pardon the phraseology, but they blew their load too soon on this, because I feel like it could have been so much more interesting and had... I don't know why, but the threat of expulsion, I didn't believe. Like, I'm sure that can happen, and I don't think it's just the fault of, I know how TV works, so this isn't going to happen.
Right.
I just feel like you have to get more creative, I feel like, with consequences a lot of times on TV. But again, this was the 90s. This was a new genre. Or they weren't sure. There could be a million reasons why they did it this way. And it's kind of a shame.
What would you have rather seen? Like, would you have rather them strung this out longer?
Yeah. I think
like over more than one episode, or like not even get to the resolution until like senior year or something.
I mean, they could have done something like we had the Brenda trilogy last season. I feel like there could have
Pay attention to me.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done something there with Andrea, maybe going to an event for this to receive the award, and people digging deeper into where she lives. We could have gotten something more about her family, for one thing. Like if they had done, maybe a 2-parter, or like I said, the Brenda trilogy. If they had done that, they could have delved more into what her grandmother went through, and whatever the feud is about between the grandma and the mom.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I would have liked that too. I think that if there was more exploration done of the entire circumstance, and because we never understand why Gramma Rose is mad.
No. Why she refuses to lie for her grandchild.
Yeah, like it feels like the rift with the mom has to be about some kind of dishonesty in their past. But we're left to fill it in, and we're not given enough to do that. So it's not satisfying that they come to, some kind of closure at the end. And we don't really, I don't know. There's just, I don't feel anything from this episode.
And we should have felt a lot. I mean, thankfully, the few moments that gave me warm fuzzies were between the gang. Like, the friendships that are growing on this show are great to watch. I love stories about friendship. It's my favorite type of ship. My favorite romance. In a way, because yeah.
So remember early in season 1 where you were like, I don't understand why Dylan and Steve are friends.
Yeah.
We had like one scene together in Palm Springs where they bonded over that they listen and they don't listen and they want sex and then they don't want sex. But here we actually see them a little bit interacting. Like they go on a double date, which
that's right.
Is interesting because that means that Steve and Dylan are the friends. Because Brenda doesn't know Christine. It's not like Kelly and Brenda going on a double date with some people. Like, oh, they're the friends and the guys, whatever. But Steve and Dylan are good enough friends to double date.
I guess so. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. I guess their interactions came up. Well, one, it's not like they have a ton of one-on-one interactions. Yeah. Like, they get along in that easygoing way that we're led to believe only teenage boys have.
Right.
Like, it's just easy. We're not trying to, like, double cross each other, even though we've seen that there can be drama between the boys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it isn't. I thought that double date was like oddly mature for them. They were cooking.
Yeah, where did Jim and Cindy go? Like, just over.
Well, if you all aren't going out, we're going out.
That's right. Yo, you need the kitchen? We're gonna go to that restaurant that Steve got us into.
Oh, we aren't paying for you all to go out, but we'll pay for ourselves because we.
That's right. We've earned it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Go Jim and Cindy.
Yeah, that's right. Jim and Cindy taking the well-earned parents' night out on the town.
For all the parenting they do.
I know. Well, you need a break.
They do more than anyone else in Beverly Hills. I'll give them that.
That's true. Yeah, no, they out-parent everyone that we've met so far. That's 100%
They at least live
true.
with their kids.
Yeah, here's money. I'm going to Hawaii. Deuces.
I feel so good being able to make jokes about and with references to the show now. Like, see how I'm leveling up?
You totally are. Yeah, no, you're one of us now.
One day I will move from an American Cheesemeister onto like Gouda Cheesemeister.
Oh, get fancy cheese.
Yeah.
Like a soft cheese.
Yeah. Camembert.
Yeah, be a brie.
Ooh.
So let's talk about Christine.
Okay.
How did you feel about that storyline? Like, we got more about who Steve is as a person through this relationship with Christine. Is he more likable to you now? Or do we still think he's like Steve Sanders' memorial worst person of everything?
I'm going to stand by it just because I know how back and forth this show's going to go. And I'm going to stick with my horse that he's the worst. But I do think it is smart of the writers to add in stories like this to show that that occasionally his human side takes over. And yeah, it's again so complicated. But yeah, I mean, it made him look better. It made me, and the moment he and Andrea were talking together, I thought, she would be so good for him. It's kind of like when Joey and Pacey get together. It's like, my partner hated that, but I love it because she brings out the best in him.
Right.
And I feel like Andrea could do that for Steve, but I don't think they're actually going to go there because it doesn't seem on brand for Hollywood at the time.
I think it's clear that Steve definitely needs someone who's more mature than he is.
Yeah,
definitely. You know, like someone who can round out his worst impulses, and you know, but I think that is a tough nut to crack.
So, you know, once he's of appropriate age and can date up legally, then, you know, maybe that would be good for Steve.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or just, I mean, girls are, you know, at that age, I guess, mature faster than boys. So we're told. So,
true.
You know, I mean, you could just go up one class to get someone who's about 8 years more mature than Steve.
Yeah,
you know, true. that would be beneficial for him, I think. But, yeah, I think that there's more to like about Steve in this episode than in most other episodes. You know, you get how he is wanting, not like in a horny way. I mean, there's that, but like that he's been seeking something. You know, we don't get really to spend a whole lot of time with him seeking that connection, because whenever Steve gets involved, it's for yucks. You know, like he acts, you know, like he wants to date the 14-year-old who chooses David Silver, and you know, that kind of shit. You know, we don't get or like, you know, a girl who's wearing one of those tops that looks like a bra but isn't a bra but is a bra, steals his car. You know,
I feel like we're going to see him get used a lot, and that's their way of saying, like, hey, we know he sucks, but does he suck enough to deserve this?
Right. Yeah.
Only time will tell.
Exactly.
But yeah, Christine was not great. I found her really annoying. All the things they wanted us to feel about her.
Yeah. She delivers it.
And, you know, in a way, too, she was kind of ahead of her time. I mean, sugar daddies are kosher now, but honey, he's not old enough to be a sugar daddy. Like,
no, and it's not even his money.
Yeah,
you know, and so I'm pretty sure that
weird.
Yeah, it is, and I think over time we would see that those residual checks for the Hartley house, they get pretty small.
Ooh, yeah.
Although, you know what? This is a conversation I was having with somebody the other day. I stopped over at my mother-in-law's house, and she's whatever, and in Florida, but she has DirecTV. So I turn the TV on, and I'm flipping around, and there's like nothing on. So I land on MeTV, and so I ended up watching like half an episode of The Love Boat, and then the other day I watched like half an episode of MASH. But the thing that I noticed as I'm flipping through the channels is on MeTV, Adam 12 is still on. It's a cop show from the early 70s. I think it's a half-hour comedy. And Adam 12 is their squad car. One Adam 12 come in, one Adam 12 come in.
Oh.
This is not a hit show. It is still on TV, like a lot.
Yeah,
and it's like there are like a million other TV shows that have existed since 1971. Any number of which could fit into a 30-minute random ass time slot on a Saturday afternoon, and Adam 12 is still on.
I think the cool thing about our current TV era is that you could bring back anything, and it could find a small cult following.
No, that's true. That's true. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe the Hartley house is on MeTV right now, and Samantha Sanders is still raking it in.
Yeah, I mean, where's the Hartley house reboot? You know, it could happen. Right. Where's the Adam 12 reboot? It could happen, and no one would be as annoyed because we don't know those shows.
That's right. Yeah. Although, I mean, we are going to meet more people from the Hartley house later. And so, I mean, I guess to date, you haven't even met Samantha Sanders. So
no,
we'll meet her at some point as well. And then you can start to form other opinions about the Hartley house if you so choose.
Oh, dear. How many other people would I need to meet from the Hartley house? What?
There's one, and there's a whole thing about it.
Oh my God. What if I don't think this is going to happen, and it better not happen. But what if Chris Suter got an extra job? Or he gets a stand-in job on Hartley House.
I don't think Chris Suter is going to another audition.
Thank God. But keep him out of girl schools.
Oh my God, that fucking guy. So, good news. You only have to wait 5 episodes to meet people from the Hartley house.
Wow.
I knew it was coming up. I just didn't remember exactly when. So I clicked ahead a few episodes to see when it is that we get to dive a little deeper into the Hartley house stuff.
Yeah.
But Christine, I don't know if she was a fan. Okay. Do you understand her scheme? Like, what is her, like, how did she go to the Peach Pit just to meet Samantha Sanders' son?
See, that's what I was confused about, because I could understand if she came up with the scheme after she met him, but there's no way, without being really creepy, there's no way she went there with the plan, like, oh, her son frequents this place. I'm gonna make sure to interact with everyone so they know who I am, or so that it doesn't look like, I don't know. It's too far-fetched for me.
You could pull it off now with the internet, and
sure.
All you'd have to do is like follow Steve on Instagram, and you'd see that like every 4th picture is, at the Peach Pit, and every 6th thing is something about his mom being on the Hartley house. So I think now it'd be easy to figure that out. But in 1991, I don't buy it. Now, she could have just decided to go to any restaurant in Beverly Hills, assuming she'd meet somebody who's rich.
Yeah.
But hamburger joint?
Right.
That's true. I mean, just like a random ass hamburger restaurant in Beverly Hills, because you figure that's where the other teenagers hang out. And I don't know. I mean, she played the odds, and she won, at least for a short period of time. But I'm not sure that her plan was super well thought out.
No, it was not. And again, something I just didn't really need this episode.
Yeah.
Give me something more exciting to I don't know, to believe that Steve has a heart. I don't know.
And here's the other thing, because I had forgotten. I mean, I remember like the general thrust of this episode with Andrea. I totally forgotten the Christine storyline. And I very much forgot that there was an episode that was this heavily tied to R.E.M.
Yeah.
And it's because it's dumb. Like the way that, like, one, you used R.E.M., like you blew the chance to do an episode around R.E.M. as like the music and something that's popular in the day. You could have done something so much more interesting than this stupid thing with Steve and Christine that like could have been about. It didn't have to have R.E.M. involved in it at all. It could have been whatever she wanted to go to Spago and he got her in, or what, it didn't have to be a concert. But what, just you waste it. And not for nothing, but R.E.M. did not tour after releasing Out of Time. Okay? They didn't. And this is a problem for me because I would have loved to have seen them. They did not tour after Out of Time or after Automatic for the People. So there was a stretch from, like, they had gone from a band that toured nonstop from like 1980 to 1989 to a band that didn't tour between 1990 and 1995. And that was like the heart of me getting into R.E.M. and I couldn't go see them because they weren't touring. And so when they finally toured after the Monster album, I was all about that shit. I was very, very excited. But there wasn't an R.E.M. concert to go to, Steve. Christine and David. Just didn't exist. Don't be assholes pretending things happen that just didn't happen.
That's where you draw the line on the fiction in this show.
That's right. Yep.
Don't lie to me about tours I could have gone to.
Yeah, come on. Like I would have pretended to be interested in some girl's mom's TV show if it got me tickets to go see R.E.M. in 1991. God damn it. Anyway.
I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Just that's what I bumped on in this episode. That there was no R.E.M. concert to go to. And that like they spent the money on R.E.M. 3 times in this episode. And it was about this. Like that's an album that has like heavy introspective music on it. You could have done so much thematically that matched any part of Out of Time.
It needed to be a Dylan episode if they were going to do all this R.E.M.
Yeah. Or you could do it with Brandon too. You could give Brandon some stuff and have him dig in.
Yeah.
Also, because I think Jason Priestley was an R.E.M. fan, so probably still is. But just it feels like a waste to me.
It is, and I wonder if they knew the episode was going to be not the most exciting, so they needed to have a draw.
Maybe. I mean, that is possible. I mean, we're not. I mentioned it earlier because we talked about what's coming up in the next couple of episodes, but we're getting to November sweeps.
Yes,
and that's when you pull out the big guns. So this is mid-October. It's not sweeps. So you don't. This is where you dump your Andrea and Steve story.
I guess so.
You know, it doesn't matter who watches this episode, so here you go. Oh, but if you like R.E.M., tune in. 3 needle drops.
It's such a tough episode to talk about because I feel like we could nitpick the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But that would just be annoying.
It would. So let's talk about maybe what the episode was really about.
Love it.
So what, because I have a couple of thoughts, but what do you think this episode is really about?
I have 2 ideas.
Okay.
The simplest one being that it's about how dreams can predict or expose our real fears.
Okay.
Because I realized in rewatching it, I was like, oh, the naked dream. Yeah, you know, that's a common thing. And oh, she's afraid of being exposed. Gasp. So I think there's that. Oh, and then the other one, lying to get ahead, you know? And, and the ways in which it is and isn't okay.
I think that's interesting because Andrea and Christine are both doing that. Yes. They are both telling lies, and Andrea is actually being more dishonest than Christine is. Christine isn't really being super dishonest. She's just,
showing her true colors, which are ugly.
Yeah. But like, she claimed to she did lie about not knowing that Steve was Samantha Sanders' son or whatever. And she probably lied about whether she would be with him if he wasn't rich. But
yeah,
both of them are stretching it to try to get ahead. Mm-hmm. And everyone in the episode is supportive of Andrea's efforts. And everyone in the episode who is not getting to rail her in the back of a limo is not supportive of Christine's efforts. So why do we think that is?
I mean, it's interesting because I think in real life, the reactions would be flipped. I think people get really upset at those lying to further their education or to get into a better school, even though what motivates change most or what motivates people to improve their lives most is education and access to it. So, I mean, that's another reason why I think it's so strange that Andrea's grandma is so against lying about schooling. I'm like, don't most immigrants move here so that their kids can have more access to education, which I know is a joke here, but at the time, at some point, it was still better than what girls were receiving in other countries for sure.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely that.
And especially like in World War II, I'm sure too, like Jewish people would have been kicked out of school. So but yeah, no, I think in real life, unfortunately, people would be reversed because nowadays too, like, no, it's not kosher to lie to advance your wealth, but it happens. It's in the news constantly.
Might be the only way to advance your wealth.
Yes, I mean, everything is telling us now, if you want to be in the 1%, you have to do all kinds of awful shit to get ahead.
How much massive fraud have you committed? Because that seems to be a linchpin. That's a foundational piece of generational wealth.
I'm sure on one end, I could probably sleep my way to the top. Not that every woman has done that, but I'm sure that that's one option.
It's an option.
Committing fraud would be an option. You know, again, all the things that, certain people are being, charged with or not charged with yet.
Right.
They're out there. And unfortunately, we're telling kids, don't do these things. But they're seeing in the news that it's getting revered. And
sure. Yeah. I mean, I do think that we are much more understanding of someone who would lie to get rich than someone who would lie to get smart.
Yeah.
Which is real weird. But that's not what happens here.
Well, because education used to lead to riches. Now it does
not. Now riches lead to riches.
Now social media leads to riches.
Oh, that's right. I need to get into the influencer
space. Which again is a whole other lie. It's a whole other lie.
It is. After this, let's figure out a way to get into the influencer business. And sure. I mean, of course, credit cards. We want to get into and management of influencers.
I would also like to make up my own fake currency.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
It's all fake. I hate to tell you all this. It's all just made up.
Fake.
Yeah.
Just new fake.
New fake. Glitter currency.
I think related to that, one of the things that I think this episode may be about is how it's not fair to rich people if they have to share. Because it wasn't, the problem isn't that Andrea is lying, doesn't live within district. The problem is she's taking resources from a rich person who should have them because they live in district. And so she could get kicked out of school because rich people don't want to share. And Steve is more than happy to share, but Kelly, as a fellow rich person, ain't having none of it. No, she doesn't understand that Steve would blissfully continue this arrangement with Christine. He doesn't because it gets pointed out to him how messed up it is, and his friends start to be like, hey, But I think if no one pointed it out, eventually he would have realized, but probably been more or less okay with it. Because he was getting out of it what he was looking for. He wanted someone to want to be with him, and he definitely wanted the sex, and he was getting the ego boost from this relationship that he was seeking. And if he had to buy presents and stuff for that and go to fancy restaurants, I think that's a trade he would make.
I agree. I don't think he minded. There were moments where he was definitely clocking her behavior okay, whatever, I'm getting laid.
Right.
So, yeah,
But Kelly did not want to share. She didn't want to share Steve with this poor girl from the valley, and she didn't want Steve to have to share his money.
Yeah, very, very possessive, but subtly so.
Yeah,
because I'm only just now thinking about it, but
yeah, no, she was very much. I mean, Steve's position on it the whole time was Kelly's just jealous, and Brandon too was like, "Oh, it's interesting how little competition can bring out the jealousy in the female species or whatever it was." He said,
that was so out of hand. Like, I don't know. It might have. I mean, it might have been true, but at the same time, it bumped me, and I wanted Brandon to shut up. I was like, "Hey, I've liked this episode enough that you are barely in it."
Right.
Hush.
Yeah, don't just take that elsewhere. We don't need it.
But it's weird because Kelly doesn't seem to want Steve, and yet she's going to be picky about who does get him.
Yeah, and from her perspective, because she's right that like Christine is something's off with her. You know, I think Kelly thinks she's looking out for her friend, but it looks like she is jealous and possessive of her ex-boyfriend the first time he tries to go out with someone who's not 14.
Yeah. My God.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What else was this episode about? Yeah, let's see. You know what one of the things this episode's about is like friends helping each other out.
Yeah.
And that's really pretty nice because that's what Kelly's trying to do. You know, she's trying to help Steve the entire episode, even though her help is not wanted or accepted. And everyone else doesn't even see that she's trying to help. But that's all she's doing is trying to help. And then Brenda tries to help. And it's not really accepted either, not right away anyhow. Brandon is trying to help Andrea by getting her some recognition for her good journalistic endeavors. And then Donna and Brenda and Kelly are all trying to help Andrea, you know, by redecorating her house and hanging up Aaron Neville posters and Dirty Dancing posters and, you know, the things that teenage girls like, Aaron Neville and Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
But you know what I think that if they had done it earlier and just hung the football sports poster, literally no one would have blinked. They would have been like, oh no, this is where this is a teenager sleeps here. They like football sports.
I thought it was weird that he even called out the design of the room because I'm like, she is a child living with an adult relative. I don't know about you, but my mom barely let me decorate my own room.
Right.
It was like, you live here, I'm paying for the decorations, it's going to look how I want your room to look.
Yeah. I think if she had like a 2-bedroom apartment, I don't think we even have an episode. Like,
yeah.
Do is like just, you know, decorate the spare bedroom with Andrea's shit and she never has to come over.
Yeah.
But because she's like sleeping on a couch or whatever, nobody buys that.
But I did like the friends helping friends, especially like the girls coming together to help Andrea, considering where they started with her, which again didn't make sense to me. But you know, I, as someone who was also a bookworm, I do remember people feeling threatened by that.
Yeah. Why would she do that? That's weird.
Yeah, there's no pictures in here.
Well, you could draw some in the corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very supportive episode, which is nice because we get to see them as a group of friends more in this episode all together or in big chunks.
Yeah.
Than I think we have very much this season so far. I mean, the camping trip, obviously, but most of the stuff has been little one-off, two-off pairings things. And there were a number of places where the gang came together in different, and that was the other thing that was kind of fun about it, is you got to see different pairings than you normally get to see. It wasn't just Brandon and Andrea. Here we get Andrea and Steve, and Andrea and the girls in a way that you don't normally.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun. Steve and Dylan double dating. That's a pairing we haven't seen before. So I think it's fun that they let them bounce off each other in different ways.
Yeah, I don't want this to happen, but I've seen enough teen shows to know it will likely happen at some point. But I'm curious about how and what will split up the group. Not for good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think the group's ever going to split up for good. Again, I know some people leave, but I don't think that means the group had them exiled. This isn't Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You will go live in the valley now. No!
Not the valley!
Please no!
I'll have to go learn karate.
But yeah, so I'm curious what that's going to be and how it will look, and if they'll be brave enough to have it go on from. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself because it's going to happen more than once. Like, this show is 10 seasons. These people are going to fight.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. There's got to be drama. I think we've kind of covered what this episode is really about.
Yeah, it's a short one.
Because not much is the answer. Like, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot with this episode. I love R.E.M. and I love Jennifer Runyon from Ghostbusters. Like, I'm super excited she's in an episode of 90210 because now we can go watch Ghostbusters.
I loved seeing. I'm gonna have to look up the actress's name real quick, but Gramma Rose. My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved seeing her. She's wonderful. We have a lot of.
Lainey Kazan, by the way.
Thank you. Oh yes, thank you, Lainey Kazan.
Mm-hmm.
Want to give people their flowers. I feel like we have so many options for Peach Pod After Dark with this episode.
Yeah, I mean we have that. We have the Windex of it all. We could watch Down and Out in Beverly Hills, which is the movie that this takes its name from. Okay, so what did this episode make you nostalgic for?
So, going back to decorating my room, which, not to say I didn't have some say in like what pieces were used, but I was never allowed to put things on the wall.
Ooh.
So, as I entered teenhood, that became a real pain in the ass because one, everyone else had it. Everyone else had posters up. And then two, like, how else am I going to enjoy my idols and celebrity crushes if they are not on my wall?
That's right.
So
you have to hang them on the wall.
We came to a compromise. I had this little wardrobe with like a chest of drawers, but there was a section where you could open doors and there was more shelving. She said, okay, you can put posters up in there.
Oh, like a locker.
I did. So that is where Daniel Radcliffe's face was for a good portion of my life.
Nice.
Various other things, but like whenever I see this is too early for 90210, but like the collages that people would put on their walls in the 90s.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm envious that you all were allowed to do that.
So you didn't go like the buddy route in just one of the guys and just tits all over the wall?
No, I didn't realize I was interested in those yet.
Do you think that would have worked? You can't hang anything on the walls in here, Leslie, unless they're tits.
That would have been hysterical and so alarming. Alarming to them, not necessarily for the reason people will think, but just like, why do you have all this up in here?
And Why is this the only room that anyone wants to visit?
Yeah. My room was the unofficial cloakroom, so that would have been a real nuisance. Like, uncles, why are you all in here? Get out!
That's right. If it was my job to clean your house, your room would have been the cleanest.
Yeah,
I would have spent all my time sweeping, like all of it.
Well, especially now that you know that we had that how to give yourself a breast exam guide in the shower.
It's hanging in the shower. Most interesting thing possible in a house. Oh, yeah, and that's awesome. Yeah, we had a lot of posters, not in my room, because we had a basement, like toy room, playroom. And so we got to hang our mostly basketball-related posters down there. So
Naturally.
We would not have been able to buddy out that room. It wouldn't have. That would not have flown in my house.
I would imagine not.
No, it would have been frowned upon.
Your dad, maybe. Your mom, no.
No. My dad would have not allowed it, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't have enjoyed it. So, yeah. So I'm trying to think what this made me nostalgic for. I wish that I could say that it made me nostalgic for R.E.M, but like it was so disconnected from anything that I cared about that it wasn't like there was no heartstrings being pulled.
Yeah.
So like that's no fun. You know what it makes me nostalgic for? It makes me nostalgic for jukeboxes.
Ooh, I've never used one.
I have always wanted one ever since seeing Three Men and a Baby as a kid, because they had that kick-ass jukebox in that ridiculous apartment that they had. And it's totally impractical. Like, who needs a jukebox? I've got my phone. Yeah, like my phone holds way more than any jukebox could ever hold. But as a piece of furniture, I think they're super cool. And so it's fun to have that kind of thing in a restaurant or a place where you can just go and put a quarter in and choose a song, and maybe choose like the most annoying song you can and watch the bar to see who gets upset. Whatever. Not that I did that, but it's a thing that you could do.
What's New
if you want
Pussycat 47 times?
Oh, whoa.
Shout out to what is it, John Mulvaney? John Mulaney. Yeah.
John Mulaney? Did he do a What's New Pussycat thing?
Oh, him and Nick Kroll. There's a great, I think, stand-up piece he does.
Wait, are you talking about the Broadway show they did? The Oh Hello?
They don't talk about it on there. Like, they did this in real life. They went to a diner and yeah, I don't want to ruin it because I'm not ready to do my John Mulaney impression. I can do one, but
okay.
I got the stage fright tonight, so no.
All right, you know what? They haven't earned it.
Exactly.
That's season 3 shit right there.
Yeah, you all have to wait longer to see how brilliant I am.
in that specific regard.
Yeah, no, if you want,
that's more brilliance being displayed every episode, but like for that specific piece of brilliance, you gotta wait.
All of my impressions are useless.
I don't know. Gilbert Gottfried did like the weirdest impressions. Like he would do like he did a Groucho Marx, but it was like Groucho Marx from 1976 when he would be on talk shows, like old Groucho on a talk show, and they were all real old Hollywood, very specific, like Georgie Jessel impressions, So you can do a lot with some very weird ass impressions, but
it's hard to imagine Gilbert Gottfried being able to do an impression of anyone other than himself.
Oh, he's so good.
I'll have to look that up.
His impressions were really, really good, because that's not even his real voice. Like, that's a put on.
Thank God.
You should Google Gilbert Gottfried's real voice, Howard Stern.
Okay. And
there's a clip of Gilbert calling in and leaving a voicemail for Gary, and Gary playing it on the air. And it's like it's a different human being entirely. It's really funny.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, but yeah, jukeboxes are pretty cool. And, we get a lot of them in the Peach Pit, so.
That's like how I would love to have a record player. It's pointless. It would take up a lot of space in our already small space, but it would be so cool. And plus, I love the slight popping sound that, the needle makes.
I got a record player for Father's Day 2 years ago.
Amazing.
And so I've been very slowly building a vinyl collection. Some things that were things that I've had on CD in the past that I know I will listen to the entire album.
Yeah.
Because I have, that's my experience of it. And other things like that you just sort of get for the vibe that you can put in the background and read to or do other stuff to. That's just, I really enjoy the feel of it. Even though literally every single album I have, I can listen to on my phone right now. It doesn't require the album, but it's the tactile experience. It's just kind of nice.
It is.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Who was your Steve Sanders Memorial worst person of the episode?
Christine.
Christine sucks.
Yeah, she sucks. I get where you're coming from, honey. I don't know your background, your situation, whatever, but you were really annoying and rude.
Yeah, she could have gotten everything she wanted if she had dialed it back about 60%.
Yes! And you will lose me so quickly anytime anyone makes a derisive remark about people working in service.
Right.
The way she was going off about the driver, I just thought, I don't know what. So as a barista, I know when we had a customer we didn't care for, occasionally, we made their shit decaf.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know what the equivalent of that would be as a driver, because you can't kill them.
Right.
I guess you go really slowly.
Or make that divider see-through so you can watch them bone.
There.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just
there you go.
To get out because she was pretty nasty to him.
She was very rude.
Yeah, and if all you wanted was to live a more pampered life, have nicer things, you can do that without being a total asshole and expecting ridiculous shit. You can just wow, that R.E.M. concert was a lot of fun, and not require that someone buy you a dress the next day. Come on, take that down about 50% and both of you are really happy.
Yeah. There's knowing your worth, and then there's being a completely selfish bitch.
Right. Yeah. And she was definitely at the selfish bitch end of that spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that she looked at the bracelet he gave her and went, "That's it?"
Right. Yeah, that's how it has to happen for the TV show to end. But it's
this is why gift giving stresses me out, and I want nothing to do with the forced nature of it all. If I get you a gift, it's because I finally had the mental capacity to think of something for you.
Right.
And not be held down by my inner demons saying, "They'll hate this."
You have some weird demons.
Yes, I do.
But you know what? They do have an appropriately frightening demon voice. So I don't want your demons to think that I'm disrespecting them, because
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's fucking weird.
My demons sound like venom.
They do.
I would like to eat Mrs. Chin. No.
You know what? If he wanted to eat Christine, I don't think anybody would have stopped him.
No, it'd be fine. Go for it.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously the answer is Christine, but for me, the worst person of the episode is Gramma Rose, but only at that one moment where she got the vacuum while Andrea was on the phone.
Yeah. What a bitch move.
That was such shitty behavior. That is so aggressively rude. Even if I was like, Rose, you got a point. Andrea is, asking a lot of you here, which she's not. But even if I thought you had a point, don't be a dick. Like that vacuum is a dick move, Rose.
Those writers knew the future and that we existed and would have a Steve Sanders memorial for worst person, and they went, we have to make sure she doesn't get this. How do we do that? Throw in the Holocaust. Boom.
That's right. I know that this is irritating, but she survived the Holocaust, so let's just back off a little bit. Yeah, that's a weird thing to dump in this episode. But
very weird. But
I didn't think his name was Brandon Mendelbaum.
Much like, it's very indicative of, again, how schools throw in the Holocaust into history. They won't cover stuff in this country, but they'll throw that in and they won't do it well.
Yeah, that's definitely not serviced well in this episode for sure.
No.
All right, well, did we do it?
Oh, we did it. I
think
get me to the next few episodes. I need to know.
Yeah, there's things coming. So join us next week, Cheesemeisters, when we will be discussing season 2, episode 13, Halloween.
Boo.
But until then, Cheesemeisters.
Bye.
Bye.